You are back in Israel. You have been, a senior diplomat for many, many years. You're back now for this particular war as senior advisor. So tell me first about the hostages, because that is what people begged Blinken to try to resolve. And now we hear, well, we keep hearing, that the siege on Gaza will remain. About the hostages. Rek Regeb, welcome to the program. You are back in Israel. You have been, a senior diplomat for many, many years. Rek Regeb, welcome to the program. You are back in Israel. You have been, a senior diplomat for many, many years. Program. Rek Regeb, welcome to the program. Rek Regeb, welcome to the program. You are back in Israel. You have been, a senior diplomat for many, many years. You're back now for this. Rek Regeb, welcome to the program. You are back in Israel. You have been, a senior diplomat for many, many years. You're back now for this particular war as senior advisor. So tell me first about the hostages, because that is what people begged Blinken to try to resolve. And now we hear, well, we keep hearing, that the siege on Gaza will remain until they are released. How can you get them released?
So on the hostages, I'd like to say two things, with your permission, Christian. Number one, it has to be understood that we are watching, and we are watching closely. And if any harm comes to these hostages, we will find those responsible, and we will bring them to justice, and they will pay. And if it takes a year or 5 years or 25 years, if they are involved in harming those hostages, Israel will find them and there will be retribution. And that should be perfectly clear. The second thing that has to be said is that what they've done in kidnapping all these people, over 100, is against all international law. It is unacceptable behavior. And the message from the international community has to be clear, crystal clear, unequivocal. There should be the immediate and unconditional release of all these hostages, period.
Are you not concerned? You say you have eyes on and you're watching very closely, that your very heavy bombing campaign inside Gaza may, how do you know that you're not inadvertently putting the hostages in danger? Do you know where they are?
I'm not going to go to what we know and what we don't know, but it is crucial that Israel hit back hard against Hamas. Christian, you and me have both been on different ends. You've been a journalist and I've been in government. But we've been through, 5, 6 escalations in Gaza, the different rounds of fighting. This is not another escalation. This is not another round of Israel-Hamas fighting in Gaza. This is war. What they did on Saturday morning when they attacked across a long front, in scope and in scale, and in sheer brutality of their behavior, which both the Prime Minister today and the visiting Secretary of State described as ISIS-like, that was an escalation of massive proportions. They have declared war on my country. We didn't want this war, but we are responding in force, and we will finish this war. We didn't start it, but we will finish this war on our terms.
Rek Regeb, I need to ask you a question that many Israelis are asking, and we see it on social media, we see it on television. There is a great deal of anger, despite this slaughter that civilians have gone through and that the country is in shock about. There is a huge amount of anger directed at what they believe was eyes off the ball, incompetence in government. And I'm just going to read you a couple of polls from the Dialogue Institute. 84% of the public believes that the infiltration of Hamas terrorists into the southern settlements were due to negligence of your country's leadership. 94% believe that the government is responsible responsible for the situation that led to the collapse of the entire system of protecting the settlements in the south. And 56% believe Netanyahu should resign when this fighting is over. And today we saw images on television of a minister being literally heckled and being told by people in a hospital that it's your fault, you've ruined the country, you're responsible. So my question to you, frankly, is how should your people have confidence that this government, which claims to have been taken by surprise, can actually redeem its people and get the hostages back and do what you say you want to do in Gaza?
People have every right to be angry. I mean, Israelis, as you know, have for years prided themselves on the excellence of our intelligence services. And yet it's clear this time we were surprised. Something went very, very wrong. There were also complaints about the IDF's speed of response.
That's right.
Were they there quick enough to deal with the attackers once they crossed the border? And of course, as you've said, there were complaints about the political leadership. Now, on these issues, I want to say two things. Number one, as the polling also said, Israelis want to win this war, and we will, and we're now uniting to win this war. And though Israel has suffered from a very divisive and polarized politics over the last few months, you see us coming together because of the crisis. And as you saw last night, the formation of this national unity government with parties that used to be in the opposition so as to show a united front. And this is an expression of what the Israeli public wants. And once this is over, once we have won, you know Israeli history. We've had inquiries after wars. We know how to investigate ourselves. We will look into what went wrong, what was right. Lessons will be learnt. That happened after the Yom Kippur War. That happened after the Second Lebanon War. We have a history of doing our own self-corrections. And if mistakes were made, they will be exposed, and there will be people will have to learn from them.
Mm-hmm. I just want to correct what we're being told, that it's actually not being called a unity government because, for instance, Yair Lapid refuses to join because he thinks some of those responsible should have been ejected, but the Prime Minister is keeping them in his coalition. So now I want to ask you the next question, because clearly the people of Gaza are going to pay for what Hamas has done. We can see it. It is terrible. As you say, we have been through 4 previous rounds, but nothing like this. And there are hundreds of children dead, according to officials there. There are neighborhoods that have been turned into rubble. There are hospitals preparing to be morgues. And you have laid siege to Gaza, which we're being told, and which I know is against international law. So how can you conduct a war where you say you're respecting international law, even at this terrible time, when this is against? And a joint question is, how does it help your fight to deny food, fuel and water to civilians?
We didn't want this war. It was initiated by Hamas. But we are acting to respond forcibly and to win decisively. And it's crucial that we win decisively for 2 reasons. Number one, we want to come out of this conflict with a new reality in Gaza, with a crushed Hamas, where there will no longer be a terrorist organization in Gaza with either the desire or the capability to hurt us. And secondly, and once again, you know these issues better than most, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iran over the horizon, they are looking. If they perceive weakness, if they believe that you can hit Israel with impunity, we'll just be hit again and again and again. It's crucial for Israel, and I would argue for the region and for the world, that we defeat Hamas decisively. Now, you asked me about civilian casualties.
And food,
there has not been a war in modern history
fuel and water
without civilian casualties. I'll get to that. I'm not evading any question, Christian. But on the issue of civilian casualties, both of us remember the war against Milosevic over Kosovo, a justified war, a correct war, a righteous war. But how many innocent Serb civilians were killed in that war? In other words, there has not been a single conflict, even justified conflicts, as this conflict, from Israel's perspective, is justified, where there haven't been civilian casualties. But to say to Israel, you cannot defend yourself, even though it was Hamas that started the war.
No, Mr. Regev, I'm not saying that.
Don't. Israeli civilians,
I'm not saying that, sir.
Crime.
I'm not saying that.
Even though Hamas...
I'm not
saying you're saying it. Yeah.
I'm simply asking you how starving a population is going to help your war effort. That's all.
So I'll answer that now with your permission. They declared war on us, and then they expect business as usual, that the crossings be open, that the channels of communication be open. No, you declare war on us, so it's war. You can't have war and cooperation at the same time. They don't go together. Is there another example of one country attacking another and then saying, well, we have to trade together, we have to communicate together? No, you declared war on us. There are consequences of those decisions. If you want to talk about the electricity, first of all, we know that electricity is being used for their military machine. But put that aside for a moment. We know that Hamas rockets have destroyed a large part of the grid that brings the electricity to Gaza. So what is the absurdity? Israel is supposed to fix the grid that they've destroyed so they can have electricity for their own missiles to fire more again. Okay. I'm sorry, it's not logical.
All right, Mark Regev, I hear you, but you brought up the Balkans, and you know that under siege of Sarajevo, the international community airlifted food and humanitarian aid. We can talk more about this later, and I appreciate you being with us, and we will have you on again. Mark Regev, Senior Advisor to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Thank you.